And we are live. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Holy Crap, the Vlogcast. Vlogcast that comes from a skeptical point of view to answer some of the questions of why. This vlogcast started as a combination of a spite and the Streisand effect because axial tilt is the reason for the season. It's because there's multiple seasons, or at least that's what everybody says. Part of this is to follow through with the old adage that sometimes the journey is more important than the destination. I'm your main host. I'm known as Shujin Tribble, and you can find me pretty much everywhere under that name. That's Shujin. Good to be back with you, everybody. At the moment, we are relatively short-staffed, but we will see what happens momentarily. So joining me from the left-hand coast, who is all kinds of almost well and blaming me for it, Io Cloud gets to join me. Good evening.
Blaming you for it. I've had my flu shot, I've had my COVID shot, and yet something hit me like a train.
I know.
Don't you dare give me that mouth hand thing.
I know. Now I'm giving grief back because whatever it is that's been going around, in all seriousness, whatever it is that's been going around very, very recently hit me pretty bad. It's not, I don't believe that I am infectious anymore. I don't believe. But it's not exactly going away per se. So for me, I got hit, last week? Yeah, something like that. Where it started in on me on a Tuesday. I left early from work. Did bad things to me. I stayed masked up through this week. And stuff is still in me. I can still feel it, but it's not happy. But I'm not in pain or sore. I've got this weird sniffle thing that I did stop at the grocery store, and dumbass me, I completely forgot to buy Fisherman's Friend for myself because I'm an idiot that way. So, yeah.
I have 3 different throat lozenges here. I'm currently chewing on one that's strawberry flavored. No, 4. 5. I actually do have mini hauls as well. But I've got them and I've been chewing on them like candy. I took one look at my CGM and I said, okay, in order for me to take vitamin C mega doses to try and see if that'll help, I can't wear a CGM because it'll fuck up the CGM. Excuse the language. Not really. I fire up a brand new CGM, and that's one of the warnings. Don't take it if you take more than 500 milligrams of vitamin C. So I've been trying to do the vitamin C because that used to help me when I was younger. Whatever has hit me has sunk into my lungs, and if I keep on having this one bad sign, I'm going to end up going to the ER and spending most of the day there tomorrow. Because
Yeah.
I've got a humidifier that's hitting me in the face, which is helping me breathe. I've got water, I've got apple juice, I've got a caffeine source because caffeine helps. I've got cough pills, I've got Hall's Minis, and I'm still coughing.
Yep, I hear that. So, yeah, for any of you that might be dealing with whatever this respiratory thing is, I'm sorry. I know I was not the instigator for most of you because I stayed off the air, which, by the way, those of you that did get infected because of me, how about using safe hex for a change and wrapping your Ethernet cables the way that you're supposed to? I mean,
I'm also sitting here and I have a quick mute button, so just before I cough, I can mute my button. So of course my voice is thrashed.
It's perfectly fine. Whatever you got to do to flick your button is fine by me. Don't worry about it. We're not going to judge you, and actually we'll appreciate that.
The internet is for porn, so grab your... Never mind.
You do that. Meantime, hi everybody. Thanks for joining us. We hope that you are doing well this holiday season. And before anybody goes ahead and gives me any kind of grief about it, yes, I say holiday, season because there are a lot of them that go on this time of the year. Not the least of which is, well, of course, I'm a little bit biased because the winter solstice has already passed us by, which means that Princess Luna is finally slowly relinquishing control of the night skies back to Celestia because she's an uprighteous bitch. Fine, said it. And if you are looking, by the way, you will see I am wearing probably the last. Actually, yeah, it will be the last one for the show for the year, because next week will be New Year's, which means that the hat and jacket combo are actually officially going back into storage again, because that's the way it is. So yeah, this I'm wearing the holiday outfit that I normally do after Thanksgiving, U.S. Thanksgiving, I should say. It's usually just the hat, but since I bought the red jacket for a costume last year, for those of you that are wondering, the red jacket was originally for Carmen Sandiego, or my gender-bent Carmine San Francisco. And the white fluffy edition, well, I didn't buy that. This is your prompted moment. This is your prompted moment.
What can I say? So you had a fan that went, "Can I make you something to show you how much of a fan I am?"
So yeah,
and there's now a rainbow version for Tiny Tribbles setting up to be mailed.
And that's appreciated. Thank you. So yeah, all good. All good. And the final tally, by the way, I did get the tally. As of, let's see, last year's, according to my Facebook feed, was almost 250 compliments just for the hat. I think it was just the hat at the time. Might have been the hat and the jacket. I don't recall. But this year, my clicker stopped at 120. Am I disappointed? Yes. Yes, I am. But it ain't zero. So there's that.
Where in the world is Carmine San Francisco?
Pretty much. So anyway, since we've still got one show left to do for the year, thank you all, of course, for joining us. If you want to join us as we're doing and recording live and be over on the live chat over there, feel free to, well, get up dark stupid in the morning and join us over here. Stephanie made it because, hi, you had to take your pills. Good on you. Good morning. Hope things are going well for you over there. For what it's worth, by the way, over here in the Buffalo market, it has gone from 0 Celsius, or I should say -5 Celsius to 0. It is currently, actually, wait a second, let me double check that. Weather, Buffalo, New York. We're currently at 8 Celsius, expecting to get to 13 as we get further into the morning and the afternoon. Which means all of the places around where I live, where there are ski slopes, there's not going to be anything left for them to deal with. And that's going to suck, because that hurts the local economy. Nothing I can do about it.
It's currently 11 Celsius, whatever that is, in Freedom units. And there's an air quality warning.
Oh.
We're really into the red.
That's not cool. You're basically Canadian. How the hell do you not know what Celsius is? Or is it just that you don't know how to do the conversion?
I don't know how to do the conversion
Don't worry
from
about it. Don't worry.
Celsius to Fahrenheit, but I know that 20 Celsius is 72, which is room temperature.
Yeah, don't even worry about it. We
37, 38 is body temperature. 40 is really bad fever. 0 Celsius is 32 Fahrenheit.
freezing.
And -40 is still -40.
Yeah, and -60 is just degrees of burr. So, whatever. Anyway, so good to have you all with us.
I'm trying. I'm very trying.
Please notice I didn't have to say anything. So thank you. We'll get on with everything and work it as best we can as always. Don't expect this to be a heavy duty deep dive on anything in particular. So if it's kind of light on like fisticuffs, verbally speaking, it's the end of the year. What are we going to do? Plus, apparently, as somebody pointed out, after Christmas through New Year's, you can do whatever you want because Santa doesn't ask you, were you good all year, including that week and a half after I visited? He says, were you good this year? So if we move Saturnalia until, from Boxing Day to New Year's, I'm just saying. I'm going to keep that in mind for later. So let me get things rolling, and then we get into the meat and potatoes of how much Io is going to be allowed to talk because I'm not feeling good in the throat. I should not have said that.
Wine.
We'll see what we can do.
I could say some things, but it would really turn the show into X-rated.
We'll keep that in mind for next time. Well, 5 minutes on the clock. Your 5-minute freestyle is going to start right now. I labeled this one apathy, and the thing is, I shouldn't have. And I don't mean that I shouldn't have labeled it this. I mean that I shouldn't have even brought this topic up. But I didn't realize it until after I started publishing and said, "Oh, crap! That's a problem." See, what was going through my head is, what if, and just humor an old man here for a second. What if we just ignored the incoming president? Not just give me a moment over here, because you have to kind of separate the office from the person. Now, obviously, as most of us know, the person that's going to be in the office does not do that and can't because narcissistic tendencies. Not that anybody is willing to go out there and actually armchair diagnose the son of a bitch. Oh, wait, no, they have. And they're right. I'm absolutely certain that they're right. But what if we just ignored them? Literally just said, "Yeah, we don't care. We don't care what you've got to say. You just sit in your corner and leave us alone. The big kids are over here at the adults table. You can sit down over there on the folding card table with all the rest of the kids." Now, see, strangling off the oxygen supply of attention would be a wonderful way of dealing with this personality type. But the problem is, that is, if you'll pardon the expression, a first world problem. It is it is something that I have the ability of even considering as a possibility. I didn't realize just how well off I really am, that I could even consider that as a possibility. Because here in the United States, there are a lot of problems. No shit, right? We've got, amongst other things, people who are finding random harm in the streets for the simple fact of the job that they do. I think that's vague enough to not get me hurt. But then we've got much younger people finding harm simply because of where they are spending their days. Again, I think it's vague enough. But the idea that maybe, just maybe, a viable tactic is just to strangle off the attention sphere to just refuse to acknowledge the person in the office? How is that even a viable option? It really isn't. As much as I would like it to be, in order to drive this person absolutely bonkers, it's simply not something that we can do. So the problem is, what do? Knowing full well what it is that we're going to be getting into in the upcoming year, the upcoming next 4. What do? How do we deal? How do we cope? Is there a way of dealing and coping? There is. And a good portion of it is simply just putting our heads down and bearing the brunt of whatever the storm is that comes. Some of us are going to have it easier. No lie. Some of us are going to have it harder. And some of us just have to be the tanks. For those of you that can't be the tank, for those of you that can't be the healer, for those of you that are just the NPCs in the back, just trying to make your way, we will do our best to help, to protect, and to push through. If you can join us at the front, do that. And if you can't, don't feel guilty. Be what works for you. And if that means just helping those of us that can take it keep standing up, that's okay too. I will volunteer myself, not as tribute, but as protection against whatever trebuchet. We'll get through. The year coming up, we'll get through together. That out of the way?
With 2 words, you can really upset the dime store dictator. President Musk.
Well, there is the infighting that's already happening.
I know. All you have to do is just say those words.
Well, it's not even.
He goes ballistic.
Yeah, and the funny part is, it's not even that. There is infighting already that's going on between several different personalities right now. And I'm intentionally not naming names because I'm getting really sick and tired of having to justify my words and intentions of words to the algorithm gods. Because there is no goddamn way that humans are reviewing the stuff when they say, oh, well, we've got this and we think that you've done this against the community standards. So if you want to challenge it, just, okay. Because the problem is whenever there is if you would like to challenge our ruling, it's just a yes, no. It's a binary button that says, yes, I want to contend it. And there's no way to actually say, look, if you go 10 seconds before the mark that you are claiming, you will hear the context that says, that changes what you think it is that's being said. It's not that we're saying that these people are doing bad things and that we support them. We are saying there are these people. They are in positions of authority to be able to do bad things to people. And what they are doing is, and there's the point of which you are now contending. So maybe, just maybe, maybe actually hire humans to do the job that, humans do best, which is get context. Just a thought. In any case, we'll get things rolling because it is time for the horrible scopes.
Again? Do we have to?
Well, some of us do. For the horrible scopes, of course, as always, if you know what your astrological sign is, cool. And if you don't, you can just make it up as you go along. I don't really much care. Rock, paper, scissors, roll a d12. Hey, you want a d12? you want one that's got all the random little squiggles on it, tell you what the astrological sign is, so you can pick it every time? Ask the nice guys over there at Heart of the Game Fredonia. They're very nice to me. They have not sent a cease and desist letter or told me not to talk about them behind their back or in front of their back or about them at all. So that's good. They don't give me money or nothing. They're just nice, and they haven't involved letters of stop it. They'll sell you the dice. They might even be able to ship it to you if you're in the U.S. I hope. Heart of the Game Fredonia. You can find them over on Facebook. I don't remember what kind of actual website they've got. I don't think much of anything, but that's okay. Heart of the Game Fredonia. Hail Fredonia, the home of the Blue Devil. It's the company that's supposed to have a mimic in the they say it's under control. I haven't been there recently, so I don't know. I'm just going to take their word on it. So, good on them. Now, see, since telling you how to change yourself for the better last year didn't work for this past year's New Year's resolutions, we're instead going to be doing New Year's predictions. And we're starting you off with a random encounter with those aforementioned dice. See that, because that's the way it works. So yeah, this year you're all NPCs, and you're going to have to follow what the script tells you to do. Free will no longer exists. You are now a programmed entity. You're welcome.
Aries, on your walk home, you'll find a key laying in the road. It's possible you'll find the door it belongs to, but you've only got a 5% chance of locating it. There is a clue, however. A man with a long beard tied into a knock with a rag at the end of it stands at the corner of the street. He sings a sad song about his father and how the two of them fought against a dragon and lost. So this week, speak with James Meeker, flatter him about his deeds, and he'll lead you to his house where the key fits. Roll initiative against the dogs running out the door and into your crotch. Initiative -4. You get clocked and you fall on your ass.
Notice it doesn't say where you get clocked, but it's a dog.
Yeah.
Taurus.
Oh, puppy, here, have a treat.
Taurus, you've accidentally found a snare trap. You rolled well enough to get free, but not good enough to not get injured. Basically, you managed to get your ankle tangled in the car seat belt ribbon and landed face first on the ground. Two people are outside eating lunch and saw exactly what happened. One of them is trying hard not to laugh. The other is wincing in sympathy. So this week, you rolled poorly on a bluff check. So mumbling, I meant to do that, isn't fooling anybody.
I meant to do that. Gemini, on a walk to the beach, you find a man buried up to his neck with the ground around him undisturbed. You could have left him alone, but, being who you are, you just had to help. Ah, Gemini. Only 3 shovels worth of sand are moved before the head pops out of the ground and crawls off on spider legs, cackling. So this week, normally we'd say you could make a wisdom saving throw, but let's be real here. No matter what, you're taking psychic damage with this one.
Cancer Moonchild, with a successful dex check, you've avoided falling into a pit. Technically, it's more like a pothole than a pit, but you would have totally broken your ankle if you hadn't made that one. So this week, the term is hand-eye coordination, but that doesn't mean it can't be for your feet, too. Keep attentive to where you're walking.
Leo, you see 2 women sneak out of a local bar's side door, giggling as they close the door behind them. In a move that baffles everyone, including the bard, with double your charisma score, they look at you and smile invitingly. So this week, look, you rolled a 2 on an initiative check. Even if you could get out, Can I get your number? They're already well out of earshot. Bone up on your dating game.
Virgo, we'll let you know right now that initiative roll of yours, being a 3, isn't doing you much favor. Not only have you made a wrong turn down an alleyway and been set upon by a gang known as the Black Bat Bandits, but they'll drag you off to their demon shrine covered in blood. So this week, make a monetary offer to the demon shrine so you'll avoid combat and gain safe passage out of the area. As a note, the Blackback Bandits are not covered in blood. It's the demon shrine that is. Keep aware of that.
I'm lost. Oh, Libra. Not gonna lie, Libra. The dice like you this turn. You rolled double 0 percentile d10s, meaning you rolled 100%. My DMs used to tell me to flip a coin because it was either 100% or 0%. Anyway, and because of that, we have good news and bad news. The good news is you just found a chest nearby with 100 gold pieces inside. So this week, yeah, there had to be a downside, right? Well, here it is. Do you hear the big bad evil guy boss battle music behind you? Yeah.
Yeah, that's the Sega 16 Doom music version. It's all MIDI music, man. Just don't give me crap about it. If you listen to it, you'll hear it's pretty much exactly like that. Scorpio, on a partly cloudy afternoon, there is an unusual vocal chorus of birdsong happening in the trees. A man runs by you, being dive-bombed by several tiny birds while covering his head. He runs back and forth several times, all the while yelling, "Sorry, I didn't know it was right there." So this week, be on the lookout for a small bird's nest. They get very territorial if you get too close. As also a reminder, the bigger the bird, the more territorial it will be.
Thank you for that. Sagittarius. A stranger asks for directions to the last town you've left. He's a generous type, giving 1d6 times 10 gold if you encounter each other again. But when you do encounter him again, later, he's changed appearances. He's now in a white robe and throwing coins into the fountain in the center of the city. So this week, don't throw coins in any fountains. The metal of them screws up the inner mechanisms in the fountains. Try to be mindful of what you're doing.
Capricorn, on a hiking trip, you'll find an encampment of friendly humans and dwarves, all playing a game of chance at the side of the campfire. They're throwing a gold coin into the air and betting on where it will land. So this week, it would be bad form to bet on which one will go reaching for the coin if it falls into the fire. And with your initiative score of 7, how about you not push your luck with these guys?
Aquarius, you'll be going out fishing some weekend, early in the daybreak hour, which will screw with everyone's expectations on your sleep schedule. One of the grisly-looking fishermen already there will see you and grouse, saying, "You're looking at me. What are you going to do about it?" So this week, you rolled a 15 on your intimidation check. So you'll be able to get away with it saying, "Me? I'm not going to do anything about it." And neither will you, right? Remember, bluffing is a very valuable skill.
Pisces, there's something fishy about your event. A local rogue known as the Thief Catcher is boasting about how he has stolen a valuable item from an evil local lord. He plans to sell it in an evil guild in a faraway town for a huge profit. You rolled an 18 for an insight check, so you should be able to figure this one out eventually. So this week, Breaking Bad! Oh snap! The DM just stole this encounter from an early episode of Breaking Bad. Okay, you know how this episode ends. You can do this. And he didn't say no metagaming, did he? You are so wiping the floor with this encounter.
And it's good to have Unrenewed Tech being able to join us. Hi, man.
Yeah, I sniped it.
You're saving me. Thank you.
I'm not a priest.
Ow.
No, but I'm. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go back to being muted.
Those are your horrible scopes for this week. Remember, if you like what you got, I don't care. It's the new year, and I don't care if I piss off the big fat red jacket man. Fuck, that's me, isn't it, right now? If you want a nicer or naughtier one for yourself or someone else, you can always bribe me by asking, because I operate very heavily on vanity. And if you'd much rather just bribe me with actual money, you can do that over the Ko-fi page, coffee.com/Icarus the Lunar Guard. I'll have these posted online at the end of the week. Tumblr, Facebook, Discord, BlueSky, because that's the way that it operates around here, because I'm just that kind of guy. It's just kind of the way that it works. And again, from the right coast of the U.S., Tech, good morning. You're able to make it. Missed you.
Yeah, sorry about that. I was helping out a friend, so a little late.
So how much lie did you need?
No, not that kind of helping.
I mean, for legal reasons, I could understand you saying that.
For legal reasons, I have not buried a body.
I didn't talk about burying a body. I asked how much lie you needed. I mean, you could have been making soap.
Actually, I've been really, really interested in trying to do like the old school method where you have a bonfire basically, and you have to take the white ash and sift it and use that as basically the caustic part of the element mixed with other, like a little bit of oil, vinegar, things like that, to actually make a very old version form of soap and see how my skin handles that.
Fair enough. Good to have your back, man. And
I was thinking that Tech was bouncing down the road with a baseball bat on his shoulder going, somebody's gonna get it, somebody.
Nah, I would never do that.
Well,
first off, I don't use a baseball bat. I use a clue by 4. I work, us IT people, we have our tools of the trade, like the cat of 9 tails, the clue by 4.
No. It's the cat 5 of 9 tails.
Yeah, cat 5e of 9 tail. Cat 5e 9 tail. Well, I use cat 6.
Well,
yeah,
that's
I use cat 69 of tails.
Yeah, well, yeah, you do, but that's only because that's the stuff that you've got. Those of us that have to watch how much money we're putting in, we use the old cat 5 because nobody uses cat 5 anymore. It's 5e or 6 because everybody's just got their nose up in the air.
Of course, if you happen to have a lot of coaxial cable laying around, you can make a coaxial coaxial 9 tails. That's just brutal. That's if you don't care if they live or die.
I don't want to think about what Black has available. I know he's got wires and galore.
I'm trying to remember which type of. I'm trying to double check what type of cable I would normally have had. I think it was RG8, RG6. I think
RG6 is the really old school stuff, but
the big fat thick stuff.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. That's
because the RG8 was the coaxial of the 80s, I believe. 80s and 90s plus
8. RG8. Yeah, RG8. That's good stuff. RG8's the good stuff.
Yeah, I'm just working here on a stitch that I found for knitting, and I just want to memorize it because I can't find the how to do it anywhere other than on a TikTok, and I've lost the TikTok.
I like the YouTube shorts where the guy knits a bunch of like fake weapons, like a fake baseball bat, a fake gun, a fake grenade. And he's like, let's see if it really works. And then of course they knit yarn to make it look like entrails and fake blood
Yeah.
splatter. It's like, oh my god, it worked. And then they pretend to run away.
Yeah, I've seen that. That made me laugh.
That is hilarious. That's like the people who take like games that have guns and such, and instead of firing bullets, they fire pretty little flowers, and people like go die in a burst of petals, rose petals and such. And I'm like, that's goofy as heck. You know what?
But it works.
I actually want to play that. I want to play that because it looks funny. Like Killing Floor 2. I invested like 50 some odd cents in a graphics. So if I headshot the enemy, I get one of those little kind of effects with a smiley face giggling pop up from their head instead of the blood splatter. Because I think it's hilarious to see like all these smiley faces giggling when I take out a wave of zombies and such.
So the comedian is what you're talking about.
Oh yeah, well, Looney Tunes all the way, man.
Hell yeah.
Like if you
No. The comedian from Watchmen. See, now you get it.
Yeah, definitely. That's hilarious.
So basically, this is a stitch where one row you wrap the stitch twice before you pull it through, and then the next row you take the wrap stitches and you switch them, and it looks like hearts.
Cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
It kind of looks like hearts. I'm actually quite impressed. My tension's messed up, but I wonder why.
It's one of those things you practice.
Yeah.
Don't practice.
I just wanted to make a sample stitch thing so I could put it into my notebooks. So I've got it.
That's how you get a Carnegie Hall. John practice.
Uh-huh.
This is episode 521 on the docket, Your Honor. Prognostication 25. We really don't want to be looking forward into 2025 too hard, but there are some things that we're really hoping can actually come to be. And a good portion of it is going to be, I'm not quite sure, hopeful, maybe even ironic, perhaps even a little bit of German. What's the word that I'm looking for right about now? I'm sure somebody will.
Freud.
I'm sure somebody will come up with whatever that term is.
Schadenfreude?
Maybe, enjoying how much pain and suffering someone else is going through.
Schadenfreude.
I'm sure it's just at the tip of my tongue somewhere. I'll figure it out.
He's doing this on purpose.
So we're going to see how much we get to have fun at everybody else's expense, and maybe even come up with some ideas that we would like to see for ourselves or others. Maybe even stuff that's even, nice. I know. I'm drinking a little bit of very weak coffee with a lot of cream in it in order to keep the bile down in my throat for exactly that moment of having said nice.
We told them so. We told them that if they went this way, shit would hit the fan, and shit's hitting the fan.
Yeah, let's go ahead and let's start on that just to get it out of the way. The election cycle is over. Sort of. We do still have yet to have happen the date where all of the stuff is supposed to be finalized and brought to the federal government for it to be agreed upon and read into the record and officiated completely and utterly. Even though we all know full well that each of the different states okay, I'm trying to remember which state level government is it that that's responsible for tallying the election votes. It's not their attorney general. It's crap. I forgot who it was. Whatever. In any case,
Those people.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah. So we are very much anticipating a very, how shall I put this, subdued January 6th or 5th or whatever day it's supposed to be this year coming up. As compared to, once upon a time ago, not too very long ago, maybe 4 years ago, where it was very different. But let's just say that the FAFO brigade is finally having exactly that happen. And I, for one, am very much enjoying hearing the rumblings and grumblings of people being very upset because, well, for instance, children do not want to have adults, or I should say parents, because acting much less as adults, over for holiday celebrations. For good goddamned reasons. And if anybody's kind of wondering about it, yes, there are plenty of YouTube videos where family members are being read the riot act and Festivus is having fun at everybody's expense that richly deserves it. Because one of the things about Festivus is the airing of grievances. And boy, howdy, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't have the article in front of me, but there was an article where one family is preparing that they may lose, I think it was the father of the family, and the guy's father, so the grandfather of the family, was saying, "Oh, well, you'll be all right," and the guy's pointing out to him, is like, "No, you got your citizenship, but I came over here, you brought me over here when I was like 1 year old, and then I got read in on this thing because I was brought over, but Trump's plan of action is to get away, remove that. If he removes that like he plans to, I'm going to get deported." And the grandfather's like, "No, he'll be fine." And he asked the dad, the dad asked the grandfather, is like, "Did you vote for Trump?" And the grandfather's like, "Yeah, we got to keep those illegal immigrants out." So, yeah, that's
Yep.
one way to help initiate a no contact.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. It's going to prove to be interesting.
I should have been registered as
a
a foreign-born national. I never was. I now have a green card through marriage, and my husband is a natural citizen because he was born here. But I could be separated from him, or worse, he could be deported with me.
Or how about this one? I could see parents getting kicked out of the U.S., but because their children might have been born in the U.S., making them a U.S. citizen.
That's
right?
one of the things that they're worried about.
Maybe there's been a divorce at some point, and they're kicking both parents out. If there's some kind of, or they're kicking one of the two parents out, and the parent who's getting kicked out, wants the children to go with them. If they don't have like some kind of a custody agreement that allows them the right to take the child out of the U.S., it might be considered an international kidnapping. This is like a worst case scenario here.
Actually, that's not even the worst case scenario.
No, I'm talking about what could happen in terms of being kicked out, taking the children with them, and then...
Oh, yes. No.
Yeah.
This is where it gets even worse. What if the scenario is both parents are going to be deported for whatever the legal wrangling reason is going to be, because it's not going to matter, but then they say the children, having been born here, being natural born citizens of the U.S., since they have that status, cannot be deported. Therefore, they have to stay here because we legally cannot deport them. And the parents are being deported. They are not leaving voluntarily. They are being extradited through legal means, legal being in huge air quotes here for a second. But because of that, the children can't be and won't be. And now we've got a major league. Just when you thought the clusterfuck couldn't get any worse, it gets all kinds of convoluted. Do we have any ideas to what any of this is going to be? We don't. We are lay people. We are not legal experts in any way, shape, or form. Don't take legal advice from a second-rate, fourth-rate podcast. And this is just us kind of spitballing of what's the worst that we can expect is going to have happen, because we know something's going to happen. We just don't know exactly what yet.
These children are going to be taken away, put up for adoption, because foster care? No. Or maybe foster care and adoption. So essentially trafficked. Or they're ejected with their parents because Trump supposedly wants to keep families together.
Or how about this one?
Well, wait a minute. Wait. We're not done with this one just yet. Kids are going to be put into foster or adoption groups. One of the biggest groups are going to be religiously based. And if they have it where they can, for whatever legal wrangling, find a way of denying same-sex couples who are legally married from adopting or fostering, guess what? A whole other legal battle goes on, and the wheel just keeps on spinning, baby.
Or you have a parent who looks, let's say, Hispanic, right? And somebody calls immigration saying this person's undocumented, even though they're, a citizen. Well, they may get picked up, and the person picking them up may not care about what, card they have on them in person. They want to take them to lockup and, verify it through their computer system, whatever, right? So now this person's been arrested. Their children's still at daycare. They haven't picked them up, or they're at school and they haven't picked them up yet. So now their kids don't have, maybe they're a single parent, and, the parent's been detained. So now child care services says, oh, they've been abandoned, and now they're in, they just went to school, and now they're in an adoption center.
I actually had something like that happen with me and my kids. The place that they went for daycare during summer, that we were told that we had to take them because I've got Native ancestry, and the ministry up there in BC has things against anybody that has any Native ancestry. So my kids were supposed to go to this daycare. Every single time that daycare had a field trip beforehand, my kids, the older two, would be jumping up and down for joy the day before, telling us that they were going to be going on this day trip. Excuse me. Oh, I love coughing. Anyway, so the kids were not jumping for joy the day before this day trip happened. We dropped them off, and they had their lunches, and they went off to the day trip. And at 4 p.m. when we were supposed to pick up the kids weren't there. It was closed. There was no signs as to where they had taken the kids, so we had no clue where they were. And I flipped out, and we called up the ministry, we called up the police, and the daycare people, they had my phone number. They had called it the day before as well. And they didn't call me to come pick up my kids from where the field trip was, nor did they bring the kids back there. And the only reason that we found our kids is because my ex was at the daycare waiting, and one of the staffers showed up. Oh, yeah, your kids are over there. We were within half an hour of losing our kids to the ministry. I then took one look at the worker and I said, my kids are never going back to that daycare. That is a security risk, and you cannot make me.
No, perfectly reasonable to me.
And I then threatened her with the minister responsible, and she shut up.
Good call.
Mm-hmm.
And I think people kind of forget that naturalized U.S. citizens generally don't get deported, right? But there is a rare exception, according to like immigration lawyers, where citizenship can be revoked through what's called the denaturalization process.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so one of Trump's administration's plan is to launch a denaturalization plan. So there's a lot of, you know, um, he did that back in. He was looking into that back during his first term. I don't know if he actually succeeded or not, but it would not surprise me if they still had the notes and were still planning to do it, especially with Project 2025, talking about heading after immigration and such.
I
Yeah.
have less than 2 years before I can apply for naturalization. I should have been naturalized within my first 18 years and then the next 30. But my wonderful father didn't do it. I also found out that my father is a Trump lover. One of the last times I ever had a conversation with him, he was Trump, 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 and and everything that he stood for when he was chanting how well and how good Trump was the exact things that he was needing. He's a vet, so he needs the VA. Well, he wants to cut the VA and all those benefits that vets get. Well, that would hurt him. He wants to cut Social Security. Well, that would hurt his disabled son and his disabled wife. It would hurt him as well because he's also disabled. It happened at work. He was a semi driver, and most of a load fell on him. And he actually told me to go back to Canada, and he was not going to sponsor me. I'm very sure that if he could, he would claim that I have no right to citizenship and I should go back to Canada. But at least I'm going back to Canada. I'm not going back to a third world.
Yeah, and I think that's something worth kind of mentioning really quickly. That there are far and away worse places that folks could be deported to if it's just based on nationality. Canada is pretty damn good. Mexico, as much as there is all the worries about a lot of drug cartels and whatnot, from what I recall, and admittedly I don't have the best, from what I can recall, the vast majority of that stuff is happening close in on the border with the U.S. Just because of the way that everything operates. Is there corruption, throughout the rest of every country? Yeah, of course there is. But, that's going to have happen. The one piece that's really going to piss me off, really going to piss me off, is going to be when there are people who are yelling and screaming, figuratively and literally, that people should be deported to Puerto Rico. People in the U.S. yelling and screaming and chanting and waving banners saying that there are people who should be deported to Puerto Rico. Spoilers, Puerto Rico is part of the U.S. You can't get deported to your own country.
Yeah, the Commonwealth of Puerto Rico is an unincorporated territory of the United States of America.
Yeah, they're U.S. nationals. They're not U.S. citizens. There is a slight difference for them, for Guam, and for a couple of the other territories. And that could end up with them getting deported, which is stupid. Do you know how many thousands of children of U.S. forces personnel have been born to native or whatever you want to call them, citizens of other countries? And these children should have American citizenship. They should. But for whatever reason they don't.
You know what? I will take the guarded L on that one. Because as I've understood it, and like I said before, not a history major, not a geography major, not a poli-sci, I don't think one could be deported to their own country, so to speak. However, Io makes a very good point, one that I was unaware of, so could it be that I'm wrong? You know what? I really don't want to be, not because I have some kind of a thing against being wrong, but because I really don't want these people to have to deal with the whole supposedly deported, although how can you do that to somebody that's already in their own country?
According to Wikipedia, Puerto Ricans have been U.S. citizens since 1917 and can move freely between the archipelago and the mainland. However, residents are disenfranchised from federal elections and also do not pay federal income tax, hence why they don't vote in federal elections. They do, however, send a non-voting representative to the U.S. Congress. The position's called a resident commissioner. They also participate in presidential primaries, and although they're not a state, so they don't have a vote in the U.S. Congress. There is a territorial constitution in 1952 allowing residents of the archipelago to elect a governor, in addition to a Senate and a House of Representatives. So, we're going to deport you to Puerto Rico. So that's like telling somebody in Maryland who was born in, say, Alaska, we're going to deport you to Alaska.
Not quite, because of the disenfranchisement.
They would lose their voting rights. But I mean, it's meant to be.
No. The point is made. As a matter of fact, both points are made, because there is something to be said for the additional meta of it all, of taking people who could be in positions of voting and putting them somewhere where they can't.
Mm-hmm.
Now, would that be something that could happen? Yes. And the problem of it is, as we've learned over the last couple of years, all the things that we thought, nobody would do something like that. Yeah, we found out that, yeah.
The worst thing is that ear tick that he got back in July probably is what changed a bunch of people's opinions of him. Oh, look, somebody's shooting at the president candidate.
Well, don't forget, I also pointed out in one episode that roughly 40% of the United States of America that was eligible to vote did not vote.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So had they voted, we would have probably had a different president.
Likely.
And why don't they vote? Because it's hard to vote.
I didn't get into the reasons. The reasons are innumerable.
Yeah, there are a lot of them.
Yeah.
Well,
but the main one, they didn't.
The main one to me is that ballot boxes were being sabotaged. There was a couple that were sabotaged in Oregon, I believe. And people were being tossed off the voters' rolls. and being disenfranchised when they'd been voters for years. My sweetie here, he found out that he was an inactive voter. So he had to go and have a little chat with them in order to get his ballot.
Yeah, but I doubt those were to combine equaled 40%, because I met
No.
a
No.
lot of people who decided not to vote because they were fed up with politics, and it was like, if you're fed up with politics, you need to vote. If you're happy with the status quo, you still need to vote.
Yeah.
And they didn't understand that.
Yeah. And it's difficult here in the US to explain just how important it actually is. There are other countries where it is illegal not to at least go to vote. Australia being the preeminent example. You are required by law to go vote. It does not say that you are legally obligated to mark your ballot, but you are allowed to submit a blank ballot if your protest is just, I don't like anybody. But the fact that you showed up is the piece that's important. The problem is, here in the U.S., the First Amendment to the Constitution, which is the one about free speech, that also kind of qualifies for voting. You cannot be obligated to say something. And by extension, voting is part of that. So, for whatever reason, and again, there are multitudes of reasons, people just don't. Eligible people just simply don't. There's a lot of reasons for it, and we're not going to go into any one or even any dozen of them. We don't have that kind of time. But let's just agree that it's both annoying and disheartening at how much of a percentage of the population that is eligible doesn't.
Canada right now is kind of sort of prepping for an election. There's all these, Trudeau needs to step down, Trudeau needs to blah, 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 blah. And there's threats of a vote of non-confidence happening. If that happens, you better believe me, I'm going to be making sure that photos of my unmarked ballot are made once I get my ballot, and I will be publishing the unmarked ballot after the election. I cannot show the ballot before or during, but once the election has happened and it's been decided, I can show it. I still have my ballot from the last time that showed up 3 months late. I got disenfranchised. So I'm hoping this time my ballot shows up.
So, sideways to that, this upcoming year is not will not be an off election cycle here in the U.S. That's every other year. So we kind of have to wait until 26 for the next, off year, half year election cycle. So we got a little bit of time to see how that's going to play out. That's going to be interesting. Leaving that aside, though, it is fair to say that we're looking forward to seeing how, economically speaking, things start to turn. There are all kinds of people who are, again, this is yes, it's still kind of tangential to politics, but the whole work as far as to the threat of tariffs. Now, we're not going to talk about the economics per se, because who only knows how much it's going to be, if it's even going to happen. The most important part to me is how many videos there are out there right now of man on the street interviews where people are asked about the possibility of tariffs, who don't know that they, as the end users of products, are going to be the ones paying the tariffs when all is said and done.
Yeah, people don't realize that when it comes to procurement, right? Because I've had to do uh, quotes and proposals and things like that for hardware for computer equipment, that we get a lot of our microprocessors and such from overseas, from other countries. And because we don't produce much of that stuff here in the US, you might see a sticker that says assembled in the United States, but I guarantee a lot of those components are Taiwan, China, Hong Kong, maybe some from Indonesia or Singapore, or wherever, right? And heck, just your car, right? Your car has a computer in it. Many cars have computers in them. I think all cars made after a certain date have at least something. And wish I was a car nut. I'd know more about it. But the point is that we don't produce those parts. So if there's a tariff against a country for, say, computer electronics, and that tariff is, say, brutal, right? Let's say it's 300% markup of the cost of the sales of the part, and that part sells for $100. That part will now cost $400 minimum, right?
Okay.
Well, that country's not going to pay that extra 300%. They're not going to still sell it to us for 100, and they're still going to sell it to us for 100. Sorry, but what's going to happen is the buyers here in the U.S. are going to have to pay 400 for it, 300 to the government and 100 to the other country, and then they're going to resell that part. So they're going to mark it up, right? Unless somebody's buying parts direct, and even then there might still be a markup. So now that you need to get that part fixed in your car that would have cost you normally, say, $150, it's now going to cost you probably around $600 or $750. And that might be the key critical component that does, monitors the airflow or the air mix in the combustion chambers of your engine. Well, without that monitoring system, your car doesn't work right, or it doesn't work at all. And maybe because of markup and the tariffs, the company that normally would buy lots and lots of those are buying half the amount of stock. So there's no longer a surplus. Now there's a deficit, and it's on back order. So that car part that you might have needed today, and they might have normally been able to get today, now you might have to wait a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 4 weeks. So now you need to go rent a car if you don't have or take some public transit, which is not very efficient if you don't live in some parts of the country that have good public transportation infrastructure, like me. And you're spending even more money, and now you're pissed, right? But you got over them Dems, didn't you? You got over those libtards. Yeah, and you're paying for it. In fact, we all are. Congratulations. Bravo.
I remember the free trade wars back in the 80s. We actually had multiple current events lessons about why NAFTA was so bad and so good, and why we should do this, why we shouldn't do it. And the United States jacking up their prices on Canadian softwood lumber, on Canadian hardwood lumber, throwing tariffs after tariffs. We had to fight back.
Yeah.
Now, just imagine what would happen to several of the states if Canada decided, oh, you've decided to throw tariffs at us? We're going to turn off the tap and the electrical lines.
Yeah, there's already talk
Enjoy.
about exactly that, the power generation. Yeah, that's going to prove to be interesting, because How much power is generated through Niagara Falls itself? That's a lot of power. That is a lot of power. And for those of you that have never seen Niagara Falls up close and personal, like
I
on the
have.
Maid of the Mist, oh yeah, I've been on the Maid of the Mist more times than I care to count. And it is an absolutely awe-inspiring experience every goddamn time. And if you want to see something really special, you should see it in the winter when it's been below freezing for like a week or two, because the mist that comes up from all the crashing water turns into snow and coats the inside of the gorge. And it is beautiful. It is so gorgeous. It's amazing. They don't let you down into the gorge at that point because in the winter you will slip, you will fall, and that's bad.
And don't forget, oil companies are fighting against renewable means of power, like solar and wind and so on.
Yeah.
So, I mean, while we do some solar panel manufacturing in this country, we don't do enough to meet all our needs. Um, and even though solar panel manufacturing has ramped up, it still hasn't ramped up enough. And a lot of people live in areas where solar panels don't meet their needs, period, even if they have is enough to cover their roof.
Because half the year they're in darkness
Yeah,
and the solar panels are covered. And
yeah. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why. I mean, I can't use solar in my area because I'm literally surrounded by trees and I'm not allowed to cut them down.
Yeah.
we could use solar if the landlord would allow us to put solar on our roofs. Yes, technically we own the house, which includes the roof, but the landlord can say no to letting people on to put and install.
And it's also not uncommon to live in an area with a homeowner association, F the F the HOAs,
Yeah.
um, where they say no, those are an eyesore. You're not allowed to put them up.
I like Alexa. Or tariffs plus the walkie talk of Canada should become the 51st state, as well as other places mentioned wanting to seize slash buy, or the idea floated before of going to war with Mexico. I actually think that Trump thinks that Greenland is this big place. It's actually just a small island.
Now,
It's not as big as they think it is. It's a small island, but because map warping in order to show it on the planets on our maps, it shows us this big thing. No, it's small. It's small.
Yeah.
now there is one cool technology. Mercedes has come out with what they're calling a solar paint, photovoltaic paste, um, that you literally paint on the car instead of installing panels. It's basically a paint on solar panel.
That would be
And
cool.
Very
oh
much.
yeah, yeah. I mean, if they can really make this stuff um, come out right and make it cost effective and everything else, and you're talking about harnessing all the exposed surface of the car, a solar panel, not just like the roof or the trunk or the hood, but like the whole thing, right? So that's like what, 200, 300, 400, 500% coverage compared to just the little tiny tail. I mean, you could potentially make EV cars that if you live in a sunny state, you borderline may never need to plug the damn thing in. More importantly, it depending on the vehicle and the system, you may be able to plug it in when you're parked out in front of your house into like a socket in your garage and charge up your home battery for your house. You know, so we're making progress in getting off of reliance of other things, but there is so much. The oil companies have and so on have so much money that they're throwing at the politicians to knock down renewable resources, which is stupid. I mean, if I was the owner of like a big name oil company, I'd be throwing money at the various renewables that are showing positive results, so that when people started to invest in it, my stock would skyrocket. The value of the stocks that I own and everything else. I'd be putting together, lease programs for people who can't buy stuff, but maybe they can rent it, with maintenance programs, so that they don't have to worry about maintaining the stuff. I mean, that's another source of income, and that also employs people. And then think of the tax write-offs as well for renewable energy. Dude, I would be so that way, if something happened to oil and oil got cut in half, it wouldn't matter. I'd still be sitting pretty. This mentality of no, just this and only this, and we can't go forward and blah blah blah. That's like,
Just
dude,
imagine Alberta turning the tap off. And for that matter, 51st State, DC, Puerto Rico, and Guam would like to have a chat with Trump first.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And why not, if some of the states don't want to be a member of the United States because of who the president is, why not have those states join Canada all the way down to California? Washington, Oregon, California, bunch over on the East Coast, up by the Maritimes. Yeah, sure. Come join us. Come be our next 10 provinces. Hell, if California is separated, it would be its own gross domestic product.
Yeah.
One of the best GDPs of the entire United States.
Never mind, they would on their own qualify as one of the highest, if it were its own separate country, in the, I forget what number it was, top something in the top 10.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, all kinds of stuff there. There's stuff going on over in the chat regarding the size of Greenland in actuality to a whole bunch of other things. I did pull up an image that showed that Greenland is would effectively cover an entire time zone across the U.S. into Canada and into Mexico. So it is sizable. I mean, not gonna lie, it's a sizable thing. And as was pointed out, Stephanie pointed out, that is Mercator projection for you. Yeah, the problem that we've always had is trying to properly visualize 3D curvature into a 2D plane to try to understand what the actual sizes of all these places are. And it's a pain in the ass. It truly is. One of the only ways that we can really see how the proper sizes are in an easy enough way is to actually pull it up on a website where they've gone ahead and they've done the reprojections to show, if you take this and you slide it to this location, this is what its size is, keeping all of the information correct and resizing, rescaling up and down to dynamically so that it all makes sense. It's a pain in the ass. It's a pain in the ass because depending as to how you look at it, the U.S. is larger than Australia until you look at the actual proper sizes and you put them one on top of the other and, oh, look at that. They're pretty well the same size.
I'm playing with
insane.
one of those maps right now.
Yeah, it's a friggin' pain in the ass. It really is.
And I'm just adding some of the pictures to the show notes.
Okay. We'll see how that plays out. Next piece that I want to hit, still in the economics area, unions. There's been a lot of complaining and a lot of yelling about unions. And one of the things that has happened is that there was a strike going on, and this past week, in conjunction with Amazon, by the way, there's a thing about Amazon. I will kind of explain a little bit better about that in a moment. Where folks in, I forget where it was in New York, I think Staten Island, where they were on strike, and for some reason the people maintaining the warehouse decided that now was a good time to go ahead and open the water taps to make sure that everything was nice and clean coming out of the tap that's coming outside the building, right where the strike workers are right now, to try to make it difficult on them. I'm sure they didn't mean anything by it. It's just a scheduled water pipe dumping of water outside in the cold, right where the striking people are. I'm sure it was completely innocent. I'm sure. But the fact that it is becoming much more visible with these larger companies, and they're gaining traction every week. I'm very much liking this, because if nothing else, one of the reasons why we have certain protections that we've got here for workers in the United States especially is because of the unionization of workers. And I'm all for it, and I can't wait to see how some of these groups deal with it. And I will go ahead and I will say, as making sure that we're all clear about this, one of the biggest reasons why the union stuff was happening with a specific green and white coffee shop is because of furries. Because one guy decided he was going to go ahead and do the thing with the union building, and decided that his fursuit needed to make an appearance when bad things were happening. And it inadvertently became the mascot, the face of the unionization going on for this coffee group. So, you think furries are the only ones that are maintaining the IT of the world? Nah, man, some of us are doing the union thing too.
I'm a union baby. I grew up with my parents is a union member from about the time I was 9 and a couple months till I was 18. In fact, she was still a union member well into my 30s. And because of that, I had better medical than I would have if we hadn't been. And Canada, yeah, you've got the basic medical, but we had more than the basic medical. And she didn't even use all of her benefits up for my health or anything, but I got things done to me that would not have been done if we hadn't been union. At the same time, there was a couple times when the union was on strike, and that was a pain in the ass because her religion said she had to obey the government. Her union said that she had to obey them, so she couldn't be on the picket line and get strike pay. But if she went on the picket line and got strike pay, she could feed me. But she couldn't get anything from the food banks or anything because she was on strike. So it was a catch-22. But those unions did good. BC government employees unions did real good for the employees.
Yeah, the U.S. had a bad time period where unions were generally bad. You know, they were doing bad things and involved in a lot of negativity. Unions are only as good as the people make them. This is something I learned by literally being in a union, and I was privileged in that I had a union where the union members actually cared. They cared about their brothers and sisters, which is what you call each other in a union, um, generally, and sometimes you use asshole, but you know, it's just like being in a family in that respect. But they cared about everybody's state. They cared about how you behaved in representing the union because it reflected upon them. They cared about whether or not the lawyers were actually working in favor of the contracts for them, making sure that they were negotiating properly, not just for good pay and benefits, but at a competitive level, but not by taking it out of our hides, right? Making honest bids and so on, as well as teaching the apprentices, everything that they needed to know to keep the union moving forward in a positive light, and ensuring that we were knowledgeable, educated, that we had gained experience, certifications, and so on. And when you have a union like that, it's generally going to be a very good thing. But when you have unions where you have people who have taken the lazy attitude, or they're allowing a lot of um, bad business decisions to be made in favor of money over everything else, it's not going to go well. And you have to decide, if you're part of that union, if you're going to stay with it. Um, and by doing so, you need to take action by voting and talking with your brothers and sisters and making changes, or whether you're going to vacate and find maybe a different one. And sometimes it's going to be a very hard choice to make. But the idea that unions are inherently bad, when I hear that, it's usually from somebody who is either feels burned by a union, doesn't understand how a union is supposed to work, or is just repeating rhetoric. Because I remember in high school, in one of my history courses, we were learning about what a lot of the unions were doing. But the teacher pointed out that that was then, not necessarily now. And then the teacher went on to point out, besides, if you really wanted to be like something like that today, you'd run for a government office. That got a lot of laughs out of the class. They didn't realize she was being serious in that statement.
I'm really debating whether or not to bring this one up, because I was checking.
Gonna say something stupid?
No, yes and no. I'm hitting my socials because I don't normally during the middle of a show, but every once in a while I'm doing, because I'm looking to see if there's anything else to kind of insert into what else is going on, because one of the best things that I can do is check to see what's being reported in the now.
HR is for the company. It protects the company against employees messing around and causing issues that could become legal suits. The union protects the employee, specifically from HR.
Oh yeah, big time.
Uh-huh.
IBM unions back in IBM's heyday. This is very specific. Okay, so time period back in IBM's heyday, unions kept trying to get in the door, their foot in the door. And what would happen was, IBM did not pull a Starbucks. They would welcome the union reps to come in and talk to anybody they wanted to. And the unions would come in, and I've got this from somebody who used to work for IBM and had actually talked and seen this occur, where the reps will come in and will go, "We'll get you better pay if you join our union." And they'd be like, "Oh, okay, so you can get us better pay. Here's what I'm getting paid now." And IBM would tell the employees, "You can tell them everything. Go ahead, be completely open." And they would tell the union reps what they were making, and the union reps went, "Oh, yeah, we wouldn't be able to get you more than what you're making already." "Oh, what? Oh, well, what about your benefits? We'll get you really good benefits." And then the IBM employees would tell them what their benefits were, and the union reps would be like, "Oh, no, you're golden, you know. Uh, well, how about promotions?" It's like, "Well, and they would tell them their promotion history, and they'd be like, yeah, you're doing great." Because IBM in its heyday took care of its employees. I mean, literally, if you were part of a division that was about to get laid off, IBM didn't actually lay you off. What they would do is they would find out what everybody was good at, and they would have them transferred into areas that either were kind of a lateral sideways movement, so it related to what they were already doing, and provide some minor updates to their training so that they could continue doing what they needed to do. They generally offered to help move people or compensate financially for it. And for people who had to move into an area where, because maybe nothing else applied to their skill set, so they'd move into an area that they picked out of several choices. If they didn't have the skills for it, IBM would train them. And they'd give them a grace period to learn that training before they expected true productivity out of them. And if their training was flawed, they'd, you know, they'd go and do better. If you went to a bank and you were looking for a mortgage for a home, the bank would stick down the normal paperwork. And if you put down that you were employed at IBM, they'd take like half that paperwork and go, "Now you don't need to do any of that crap." What do you mean? Well, you work for IBM, you're pretty much guaranteed a job, so you don't need to sign any of that crap. And this is not rhetoric. This really used to happen.
Yeah. When there are
And
companies that take care of their own
yeah,
correctly, sky's the limit. And that's
IBM didn't used to have a human resources department. They had an office of personnel.
yeah, they did it right.
Yeah.
So is probably the only retail manufacturer or retail seller, or whatever, that actually treats their employees well.
Which one?
Kitty corner, Costco.
BJ's does a pretty good job too. I've talked to some of the employees at the BJ's local to me, and they're, they left other jobs and came to BJ's, and they've been never happier.
Never heard of BJ's. That's okay.
BJ's is the same as a Price Club or Costco. They're a membership based only warehouse bulk supplier of goods.
Yeah. BJ's is based out of Massachusetts, if I remember right. I used to work for them once upon a time ago, long time ago now. It's probably improved over the years since, but yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, it's
During
hard to get a job at the BJ's local to me. It really is, because people don't generally quit.
I threw into the show notes stuff about Ginger Goodwin. He was a labor activist for the miners on Vancouver Island, and he had tuberculosis and therefore couldn't serve during a draft era in Canada. Yes, draft in Canada. And because of his activism to get the miners safe, they basically said that he was fit for duty even with his tuberculosis, and he fled. They sent somebody out after him, and he got shot and killed. But he was the instigator for making the mines safe. There's horror stories about the mines in Vancouver Island that I've been told. I don't want to repeat them because it's been 20 years since I was told them.
Well, it's like I tell people, if you like an 8-hour workday, if you enjoy having an 8-hour workday, think a union. If you enjoy having, benefits, think a union. If you enjoy the laws and such that protect your rights while working, think a union.
And if you want to thank enforcement of those pieces to make sure that they stay and are levied correctly across the board countrywide, thank the government for instituting a group that is tasked with making sure that all of these things are done, that safety is kept up, that everybody is supposed to be, even if they aren't always, supposed to be treated correctly and safely and humanely. So you don't have things like 10-year-olds dying of black lung.
And yes, they did die of black lung. They died of cotton lung from the cotton ginnies, from getting crushed by the machines. There was the tailors that got killed in the tailor fire because the exit doors were locked.
Because they were trying to unionize, because of the safety.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of the reasons why I was so pissed off at President Biden when he was making the claim that he's pro-union, and then Amazon was caught on video throwing out union material, which is illegal, highly illegal, right? There's a federally protected right that allows a person who works for a company, like I can go into my company and put down pro-union material in, like, say, the break room. I can't put it on somebody's desk, but I can talk to my coworkers on my break time and on their break time about it, and I can give them the material, and um, the company can't stop me legally. I can leave that material posted on the post board in the break room. You know, the company legally cannot stop that. And if the company gives an order telling an employee to go in there and trash all union related material, they get in trouble with the federal government over that. And when Amazon was doing it repeatedly, caught on camera, approached on camera, admitting to doing it and everything else, and then nothing was happening. It's like, hey, Mr. Pro Union, get your people's asses over there and fix this.
Yeah. The piece that I wanted to, that I was trying really hard, one way or the other, to bring it up or not, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to bring it up. A piece that came across from AP News was updated for roughly 4 or 5 hours ago. There is a situation that happened in Denver. I put it in the show notes, and I'm trying to figure out how to correctly describe what happened without getting into trouble. Effectively, someone who was working for news organization out there, who worked for KKCO and KJCT, a reporter who did not look the same as everyone else in town, was chased by someone for upwards of 64 kilometers, chased in a vehicle. And the guy, the reporter, made his way, fearing for himself, back to work, meaning back to the news organization, the TV station, I think is what it was. And because this person, who is described as a, quote, Pacific Islander, was grabbed and things were yelled at them, such as, according to the arrest affidavit, quote, this was in the arrest affidavit for what the person was yelling at the reporter, who is described as being, quote, a Pacific Islander. What was said, quote, "Are you even a U.S. citizen? This is Trump's America now. I'm a Marine, and I took an oath to protect this country from people like you," unquote. Additionally, according to this report, this supposed Marine tackled the reporter, put them into a chokehold, held them down, and according to this...
Tried to strangle them.
Correct. According to this AP News article, quote, "Co-workers who ran out to help and witnesses told police that Alex," the reporter, "appeared to be losing his ability to breathe during the attack, which was partially captured on surveillance video, according to the document," unquote, from the article.
It should also be pointed out, because you did kind of leave it out, the guy who said all this after he said all that, chased him via car.
No,
right?
I did mention that.
Oh, you did? I just
Yes,
missed it then. I'm sorry.
yes, like 60, 64 kilometers to the news
News
offices.
station. Yeah. And according to the news station website, the reporter, Alex, is a native of Detroit. So, yeah, he's a U.S. citizen.
Now, the reason why I was hesitating to bring this one up, not just the fact that I could get dinged for having mentioned it. I will make sure that this AP News article is linked because I want to have the ammunition to say I read directly from a news article. I do believe that this type of news reporting, this situation, is going to become far and away more prominent in reporting. Not because it's going to be stirring up people because if it bleeds, it leads, but because the sheer volume of these situations is, as of Inauguration Day, going to go through the fucking roof. And I swear to the flying spaghetti monster itself, I want to be wrong. But I really, really am afraid I'm going to be right, that this kind of thing is going to go through the goddamn roof.
And for the purposes of this video, the time, according to the article that we're going to be putting in the show notes, it was last updated on December 27th of 2024 at 8:18 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So this article may get updated at a later date with different information. It may turn out that the guy is not a Marine. He may have just been making a false claim.
Which in and of itself is going to be one of those things that, my God, he's going to be on thin ice if that's the case too.
Yeah, I think if I remember correctly, my brain doesn't work well anymore, but I think that we have laws in this country. They might be at the state level, they might be at the federal
There are
level,
laws about
that if
claiming
you
whether
make
you're
if you're
in
making
armed
claims
forces.
that you're military or retired military or former military, however you want to word it, and you're trying to use that for certain things, that you can get in a lot of trouble. So I don't know, like you said, Shujin, if it turns out the guy's not really a Marine or a retired or whatever,
Deep doggy
that
do.
may or may not enter into any kind of prosecution that comes to this guy.
Deep doggy do.
But I do know that from a civilian standpoint, if somebody's chasing me and it looks like they have intent to harm, and then they claim they're military or ex-military, my estimate of their threat level has skyrocketed, because we train our military to kill. Well, most military. There are a lot of trained medics and cooks and mechanics and so on, but even they have defense courses and firearms courses and things like that. And we have a lot of guns in this country. So if somebody tells me that they're, but a Marine, I mean, come on, man. If somebody tells me that they're a Marine and they're coming after me, I'm going to run like hell, because I might be able to fight, Joe Schmo down the street who's pissed off and he's drunk. But a Marine? No, I'm not even going to put up a fight. I'm running like crazy.
It's just that one news article when we were at city council. One of the people that stood up basically gave city council the evil eye because city council told them to speak to us, not to the audience, because the audience was heckling them. So the speaker shut up for about 30 seconds. And people were screaming, "They're wasting our time!" It was their 3 minutes to waste any way they wanted to. And afterwards, several members of the city council said, "You got guts," to that person. Standing up against people that were shouting pro-Trump rhetoric, pro this, pro that, and this one person who's an immigrant who's trying to stand up for the little guy, it basically stood their ground. You can't scare me. I'm going to just stay here and do what I do. This is my 3 minutes of my speech. I'm going to do it. I'm going to take it.
Yep. And just so that we're all aware, the account that I got this news article from over on BlueSky is at newsjennifer.bigsky.social. I know it's BlueSky, but B-Sky. Leave me alone. I did have the HCTV account follow and send a thank you for reporting on that and letting them know that we just used it on the show for what it's worth. So proper accreditation where it's due. Yes, the news article comes from the AP, but I found it because of News Jennifer. So Jennifer, thank you. Appreciate that. We don't have too much longer to go. I want to mention something highly personal because it's going to be a thing that's going to be coming up, and I want to make sure that everybody's on the loop on this one. Y'all know that I do DJ stuff in Second Life a lot of days of the week. Io does some DJ stuff too from time to time. Not as much as I don't think. What have I got? I've got
I was doing up to 30 hours a week at one point. I've pulled back to about 10 or less.
Okay. So you do it far and away more than I in that regard.
But the 10 hours that I do, I include the 3 hours Friday, actually 4 hours Friday, the 2 to 3 hours today, right now, and my hours tomorrow. So 12 hours a week.
Okay.
Having to be on, whether it's music or helping you host or whatever, or helping him host. But I was at one point in time doing about 30 to 40 hours a week, and I was not getting paid minimum wage to do it.
No, that's fine.
That was the worst part.
All right. So for me, it's 2 hours Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. So that's 6. Another 3 on Friday. So 9. That's what I call my DJ time. I don't include this, but if we did, it's an additional 2. So give or take, we're close. And again, scare quotes for that and Heretic Woman's scare quote thing. For a number of years, I was doing a fundraiser yearly for the Roswell Park Cancer Institute here in Buffalo, the group that was helping my wife. This year coming into it will be 20 years since her passing. And for several years now, I've not done the fundraiser in Second Life. I just haven't had it in me to do it because mental health reasons, I guess, is probably the best way of describing it. And we used to do a couple of hours, dedicate the Friday night show early on. But then it got it in my head. What if I did a big one? And for several years, on the weekend closest to when she passed, which turns out to be Memorial Weekend, I would do a 36-hour show. And it wasn't just 36. It was the Friday night show, so 3 hours. And then after that, the clock would start for 36. So it turned out to be, a lot more like 40 on air the whole time. But that was on top of doing a regular day of whatever it was I was doing at the time. And then, finally going to sleep after all of that. Or, within a couple of hours of, finishing and getting some sleep. And like I said, the last couple of years, I've just not had it in me to do it again. And very recently, for some stupid reason or other, I got it in my head. It's going to be the 20th. I don't want to say anniversary. I hate using that term for it. I hate English for that word. But it will be the 20th year. And maybe, just maybe, I've got it in me to do just one more. And go out on my terms. And not go out on a whimper, but go out on a shout. Because the last couple of years, it's not gotten the amount of visibility that I wanted. And it's been hard for me to try to get that kind of visibility. I wanted my thing to become bigger and more known than the Relay for Life in Second Life. Because Relay for Life, that's the American Cancer Society. And forgive me for saying it this way, fuck the American Cancer Society. They had an opportunity of getting thousands, tens of thousands of dollars in donations from a group that was looking to give them a lot of money. But they backed out of doing it because they would have been obligated to thank an atheist group. And they didn't want to piss off the non-atheists. So as far as that's concerned, I've had a hate boner for the American Cancer Society specifically and Relay for Life because of extension of.
You're not the only one with hate boners for the Relay for Life and American Cancer Society.
So here's the thing, and I'm putting it out there for everybody to know. I am going to be looking into the possibility of doing one more show. One more full 36-hour set. With the idea of getting things together, getting the visibility, making it happen so that we have an actual, real, completely visible, blow the socks off of everybody moment. The kind of show that I've always wanted to have. And I am in the process of trying to decide, can I do it? Should I do it? This is all alpha level stuff. Meaning I'm plotting, I'm thinking, I'm sketching out in my head. Is it going to happen? Can it happen? Can I make the things work that I want? I don't know yet. But I want y'all to know I'm giving actual, real, serious consideration to doing this. I don't know. I'm not sure how viable it's going to be. But I just want everybody to know, if it happens or not, I'm really, really trying to figure out if I can even make it work. If we're going to look forward to what can we do, I am really, really, really hoping to do this. Not just because it's my wife, but because there is rumbling from the future federal government that they will want to eliminate, if not curtail, cancer research at the juvenile level. Kids and cancer should never be in the same sentence together unless the term cure is involved. I will grudgingly accept successful treatment of as an alternative. But if they're going to have any kind of rumbling on that, no, fuck that noise. I want to be able to do something. And if it's all the same to everybody else, if I do it and it's for a personal reason, sorry, not sorry, I believe is the expression. So I know that's a big one to dump in everybody's lap, but Bear, you've been around enough years to be there at the end of those shows. I know. Even if I can't remember the entirety of everything that you might have said or typed, I should say, because at the end of those, you want to talk about taking a belt sander to the brain to smooth it out? Holy shit, at the end of those, I'm lucky enough I remember where the hell my bed is.
Yeah, as somebody who's like between gaming and other things has stayed awake for like multiple days in a row. Yeah,
Same.
the loopiness is there and real.
You know, I will be there and be a part of your support people. You know, voices that'll come in and say, hey, let's keep going, let's keep going. I have my own reasons. 2 uncles, an aunt that survived, a husband that survived twice, a mother-in-law, grandmother, mother. It's in my family. I've been through a couple scares myself. So you better believe it, I'm going to be there. I have my own things against the American Cancer Society and Relay for Life on Second Life, especially. I'm a Canadian. I did all that DJing for years up in Canada. I was asked to volunteer for Relay for Life. I looked at it and said, how do I know that money is actually going to Relay for Life? How do I know that? Oh, because we say it is. No, thank you. I would rather take in my tips and then do a photo of me donating in Canadian money to the Canadian Cancer Society. And I did that. And I basically got burnt out for all the volunteering I did for them. I finally did something this year, but that was because a friend who has cancer said, can you do this for me? And I said, sure. But boy, you get burned out because every couple of months they're doing yet another RFL thing. RFL this, RFL that, RFL this, RFL that. Can't you just keep it to 1 month? 2 at the most, April and October? What do daffodils do? And breast cancer awareness.
Yeah.
What do daffodils do is the Canadian Cancer Society's main commercial for donations. The girl that sang it again about 20 years later to show that she was cured. That she was a survivor. So, yeah.
Yeah. If this happens,
I'll be
it's
there.
It's going to be a thing. I have, like I said, I have ideas in my head on how to make this a thing. And I'm going to tell you now, part of this is because I've got that laptop. It does run OBS. It will run OBS. And I will set up the Twitch account that I've got on it. And
Oh, is that the one with the new battery now?
yes, which, by the way, that new battery, holy shit, man, it's nice to be able to run that thing for more than, a half an hour before the battery goes,
I'm
Yeah,
really happy to hear that, man.
oh my
you've
God.
been chirping about that, like proud papa type chirping.
Oh my God. That battery is heavy as all hell, but having all 55 watt hours instead of the 11 that are left on the old battery, what a difference. Holy shit, what a difference.
Well, I'll
Yeah,
be there. I'll be there to support.
I'm glad to hear it, man.
Yeah, and
I do
just
miss
thank
those
you.
days when you could actually get like um, the laptops where you could actually tell the company that you were ordering your laptop from. It's like, hey, look, I know it comes with this standard battery, but I'd rather upgrade to the extended life battery. So instead of 20 whatever, it would be 45 or 50 or 60.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's even groups of people out there who like take the laptop batteries apart and find out that, oh, these things have like 18650s in them or other. um, I that may not mean much to you, but the battery community knows what I'm talking about, and
Yeah.
they'll take them out and put in fresh ones, and bam, that thing is good as new. Same with the batteries for like a lot of the cordless power tools now. People like they think it's a big block that's in there. That's just a rechargeable block. It's like
Nah,
no,
it's
no,
it's
no.
it's a bunch
It's
of double
individual
A's.
cells. Yeah,
Yes, it's a bunch of double A batteries or double sized double A batteries, and they just wire them up together, and yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, it turns out a lot of those are the 18650s because ounce for ounce and their size make them optimal for wiring them up and putting them in those blocks.
Yeah.
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 By the way, speaking of tariffs,
Yeah,
a
and
lot of those batteries come from overseas.
there is that.
Yeah.
There's that. I'm
The
to
best
that.
ones come from Japan.
Yeah, and we're I kind of ate up a little more time than I anticipated. One of the things that I'm expecting to see come up a new area of the economy in groups that are properly refurbishing products like battery backs, like you said, cracking open the old ones, getting the batteries that can be refurbished back up into shape, and repackaging stuff and reselling stuff at a discount
Oh yeah.
compared to the real ones, but actually fixing stuff up again a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you're familiar, but a lot of the vapes have these batteries in them. Some of the vapes actually have the vaporizers that are designed to be disposable,
Hmm.
have lithium ion batteries in them because again, their powerhouse is ounce for ounce, and so there's quite a lot of people who have been picking up vapes that have no more vape juice in them that are on the ground, right, or in garbage cans, taking them home, sterilizing them, cracking them open, taking the battery pack out and testing it and finding out that the battery packs are still in excellent condition. And so they'll collect them and they'll wire them up, series, parallel, whatever they have to do, and turn them into rechargeable battery packs. They'll throw a USB connector on it with a regulator circuit and such, and now they're powering their Raspberry Pis with the thing, or they're recharging their cell phones, or whatever. Um, I really hope to see in the next few years, like you were saying, an uptick in the whole self-repair, do-it-yourself community. I know the battery community's already been doing that.
I know about 15 years ago, less than that really, there was a place in Vancouver where you could go and get refurbed computers. They would all be Linux, but you'd still be able to get a refurbed computer.
Yep.
Hmm.
Now,
And I haven't been there in forever, so I don't know if it still exists, but it it started at least 15, 20 years ago because why not refurbish? Why not reduce, reuse, recycle.
And by
Yeah.
the way, Shujin, if you pull the battery out of that, don't hold the phone up because you might be displaying your IMEI number, and you don't really want to be doing that on the air.
Well, fortunately, this is an old phone. This is the old Samsung S5 that I had once upon a time ago. It is no longer used. It is a spare, so I'm not going to show all that piece. But the battery pack,
Still good.
the battery pack is still good, and literally for this, it's a matter of just lift it out to
Plus, you can
replace it.
still get those online.
Yes. Now, the reason why I wanted to show this off is because this battery pack is still flat. Still flat like Fillion. There's some people that understand that in the VTuber community. Flat like Fillion. And that means that this battery pack is still wonderful. And your old phones, doesn't matter which company, it doesn't matter which type, because we all know Android's better, that you can use these even though you may not be using the most recent programs. There are things you can still do with these. And I want to bring up one item really quickly before we get out of here.
Yeah, you can
I
still
still
call 911 with them.
and I still have this. I still have the first smartphone that I got. The Samsung Fascinate. Give you an idea as to how far back this one goes. I still have the case that I originally got for it. Yeah.
The T-Mobile version of it.
Yeah. It's small compared to my current S10. It is small, admittedly.
It still has a high definition display though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
That
think
line-
I have. I
that
think I
was the
have my
first of-
S4 from about the same period of time. I think I have it. I think it's in the office.
Yeah.
I found a bunch of electronics that I had saved, and I couldn't even remember why I saved them, other than maybe because there's pictures on them.
Yeah. Here's the reason why you don't want to get rid of your old. I'll tell you why. Because even if you don't use it as your daily driver, you'll see why that's funny here in just a second. If you have a use for a product, you shouldn't get rid of it. Do you have a use for one of these old phones that maybe don't have the ability of talking on the new services anymore? Like so many of these groups are going over to 5G and they're phasing out some of the older connections. It doesn't matter. Does it have Wi-Fi? Does it have GPS? Good. If it's an Android device, download the map data for all of the areas that you would otherwise travel. Download it as an offline map and keep it.
Yep. Now, here's a caveat to that. Some of the old phones used not true GPS, but a GPS, which required to be able to ping off of cell towers. If the cell towers it needs are not available, because during the upgrades they actually did replacements, and the replacements don't ping the old, don't respond to pings to the old networks of the old phones, then your tracking data does not end up working very well. The other side of that coin is there are really inexpensive little modules that just require a USB connection that can plug into phones and use external GPS data.
So,
which some of those are much less expensive than a dedicated GPS would be.
so if you've got one of these old ones, there's reasons why you could still use them.
Here's another thought, by the way, and this one should also be a good one. If you're somebody who has a tendency to need video recordings of stuff, and you don't want to take your cell phone into a violent or potentially violent situation, or a situation where you feel that you may become incarcerated or whatever, if you've purged the data on the phone, right, you can use it as a recording device. And if the device supports external media, slap in a quick SD card, which, get one when it's on sale, and you now have a camera as well as a both a digital camera and a video camera. And getting something that hangs around your neck that you can put in it and have the camera facing outward so it's unobstructed. You can find those all over the place. You can get custom ones on Etsy, you can get cheap ones on Amazon and Walmart and whatever. So I mean, there's lots of different uses. You can put some videos on it and give it to your kids in a long car ride to watch movies on.
Yep. And I'm trying to remember if this one had... I think this one had both the SD or micro SD and
It does.
SIM in the same slot. So yes, you might get a little bit of a problem with trying to find a size that works, but trust me, you can get super cheap. And last item on these: if you decide it's too much work, and you don't want to be bothered, or you're afraid it's going to suddenly turn into an angry pillow, that's almost a joke, people.
If it turns into an angry pillow, take it outside and put it on concrete or stone or something. Do not put it in the grass in your yard or a pile of leaves. For God's sakes, do not put it in a bucket of water.
No.
Okay? You're not putting out a lithium fire with a bucket of water.
No.
And then call the fire department.
But if you don't have any use for them, if they're still good, if it's just too much work, it's too much effort, you don't want to be bothered, wipe them, factory reset them, take out all of the identifying information, take out the SIM card, take out the SD card, and donate it to a shelter. Mm-hmm. Fucking help someone that you will never know, you will never meet. Even, like Tech said, even if it can only dial 911, because that is a requirement. Even if you don't...
sell a cell phone in the U.S., it must be able to dial the 911 network, which is not 5G dependent or anything like that. It's its own thing.
If you've got a landline, even if you don't pay for service, it still will operate 911. So if you can't use it, if you don't want to be bothered to use it, you can still reduce world suck by helping someone you will never meet. And honest and truly, what is more metal than helping someone you would never meet, who could never say thank you? Because it's the right thing to do. We're going to have
I have an iPhone. They're still usable. They still can be donated as well. You got a factory reset, etc., etc., etc. The only reason why I upgraded was because one of the things that I do occasionally is audits, and in order to do the audit, I need access to the 5G network. And with my medical devices, transferring back over to Samsung would have been too much of a bitch.
Yeah, we're not saying that there's not legitimate reasons to upgrade when the phone's still usable. There are plenty of reasons people will do it, whether they're government, whether they're working for the government and there's mandatory restrictions because of China or whatever. There's all sorts of reasons people upgrade, but it's the old stuff that we're talking about. The stuff that you might not be using anymore for whatever reasons, immaterial. You might just have it lying around the house. here's a financial incentive. There might end up becoming a program of cash for old cell phones if we end up having a microchip war with other countries. China, excuse me, and we start doing more mass production of chips in this country. They might start calling out, hey, if you've got old cell phone tech or old laptops, we'll pay you cash for it so that we can recycle the innards and turn them into more state of the art components.
Irony.
So that could happen.
Irony, the local Walmart actually has a kiosk where you can take the older cell phones and toss it in, and you'll get a credit chip to go and redeem at the money area of
See,
the
there you go.
Walmart.
Yep.
See, it's already
So-
happening. It's already happening.
Yep.
And I actually think that's a good idea, because instead of this stuff taking up space in cupboards and whatnot, recycle it.
Stephanie's also pointed out something, and I will say it, and then I will make sure that I have transparency on this one. Stephanie's saying, talking of reuse, here in the UK, we have an organization called TWAM, Tools with a Mission, that takes in anything, refurbishes, and passes it on to the poor or the third world who need them. They even took my grandmother's Singer sewing machine that is a genuine antique, I believe. So, going backwards a second, an old sewing machine, if it's anything like the stuff that I've seen, and again, I'll get to that transparency thing in a second, those things were built like goddamn tanks. And I do not say that as hyperbole. Cast iron weighed a goddamned mint in metal. And the only reason why some of these things need to be refurbished is because the belts have simply eroded away with some of these.
I remember my grandmother's pedal machine.
Oh, yeah. So,
And I've seen other pedal machines. Pedal machines are actually a really good idea to have in case shit hits the fan, because, you still need to have clothes made and fixed. And if you don't know how to sew, but you know how to use a sewing machine, well, get a pedal machine.
They're also really good at if you want to put an earring through your finger.
I don't recommend that, of course. We don't.
Yeah, no,
Collectively, we don't recommend
It's
that.
not a recommended thing because it's considerably painful.
I've done it. I was sewing, and I had a time limit, and I had to have things done. And yeah.
So Io's new nickname is now Stitch.
Yeah. Now, the transparency
It's not
part.
DJ cleavage anymore.
The transparency part that I wanted to make sure that I do, because this is me being transparent about everything, even if it's slightly to my detriment. I work for a company whose model is accepting donations of reusable goods, paying a charity for these products, because we're acting as the receiving group for the charity. You've probably seen the pictures of the group. In my case, for the group that my store works with, my specific store, not the company-wide, it is the Epilepsy Foundation of Northeastern New York. Yes, I'm in Western New York. There's reasons. Don't read too far into it. But we accept donations of products that can be reused, resold, and if it's really that bad off, we will recycle it. So we buy it from the charity, we then sell it back into the community so that products stay local. And I wanted to make sure that, I am transparent on that. I am not advocating for which organization, because I don't want there to be a conflict of interest that way. Just that there are organizations that do this. And I am one of those people for which the electronic stuff is like, it's not officially my baby, but when there are things like computers that come in, or as I found, a crap ton of tablets, pads that come in. guess who takes it upon themselves to try to figure out, can it be put into factory reset mode and sellable? That'd be me. So,
And I do want
yeah.
to point out something in chat as well. Lexa Black pointed out that you could take an old cell phone and use something like Bridgefy or Bridgefy to send messages to other Bridgefy users via Bluetooth and short range other connections. This is a legitimate thing. This is actually recommended for areas that get hit by like hurricanes and so on, where infrastructure's down. You basically turn a whole bunch of cell phones into an ad hoc network. Bridgefy is an app I actually keep on my active cell phone at all times, along with two other applications. First Aid by the American Red Cross, which gives you basic first aid guidance depending on what the injury is, as well as an app called Survival Manual, which is, if I remember correctly, by it's the survival man. It's a digital version of the survival manual as created by the U.S. Army. So these do not require um, active cell phone communications to exist on your cell phone to update. You can just hop on a Wi-Fi or whatever. But if you keep these apps on your phone, they give you options and on-hand knowledge for emergency situations. I mean, you can also put your emergency contact on your old phone. You can put Kiwix, Kiwix, which allows you to store, I believe it's entries from Wikipedia. So, I mean, people don't realize that on Wikipedia, there's all sorts of stuff like data for um, math and science and all sorts of stuff. So you can literally turn your old device into a knowledge powerhouse for emergency scenarios. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and you find that if you have an Android or iPhone device, you will almost always run into somebody that has a means of recharging it or has a
I
compatible cable.
I have Pulse Point and MyShake, which Pulse Point says when fire trucks and ambulances are dispatched. I cannot find something similar for police. That's okay. And I've also MyShake, because I live in California. It will actually warn me when there's an earthquake about to happen, and it's done it a couple of times.
Now, granted, those require infrastructure to function to some degree.
Yeah,
I'm
but
talking more of offline stuff.
Yeah. No,
yeah,
that's
they might require infrastructure, but they still warn you that shit's about to hit the fan.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've just got a notification that the fire trucks are going to be coming within a couple of blocks, and it's a chemical spill. Maybe we should get the duck out of Fudge for a while.
yeah, that's fair.
You know,
That program,
Bridgefy. So it's
Bridgefy.
bridge
Yeah, no,
ending in FY.
yeah, I got that. I did pull up the website. I will make sure that it's in the show notes. That is a product that I had kind of wondered if such a thing existed already.
Yes.
I'm very glad to see that such does. I am not at all versed in it, so I don't know a lot of the ins and outs that I would otherwise, figure on. But that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Another thing is there's a third-party app called Share APK. So the word share, like you're sharing a cold, and then APK, the extension for most Android packages. And a lot of the Android phones have USB-C now. And there's also, and the older ones have USB, micro USB. Well, there are thumb drives that have USB-C and micro USB on them. They're rotatable, or they have USB-C on one end and a Lightning connector on the other, and they're designed to plug into cell phones. If you share APK, or you manually go online and just download it from the Play Store or whatever onto this drive, and you live in the area where hurricanes are hit, well, if you meet other survivors who don't have Bridgefy that are willing to trust plugging in a USB device or Lightning device into their cell phone to get that program on there, you've just now enabled another person to the Bridgefy network. So you can actually help spread that file and help spread that network of communication amongst others.
Yeah. Something tells me that maybe.
That's going a little IT heavy, sure,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. No.
that's me, you know.
I.
Well, it's IT heavy, but when it comes to when feces and circular impellers, you need stuff to help people out because Katrina and the hurricanes this past year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know
I
what?
mean,
I'm
if I was
sorry.
in a hurricane hit zone and I found somebody who was very good with CBs and such, radio technology like Shujin, I'd make that person my best friend.
You know what? How about this? Since we're well over time at this point,
Yeah.
let's trim it off here. I will see about getting in touch with. I'll see about getting in touch with my bud, who was kind of part of the reason why I ended up getting involved with ham radio. And I will see if he's got time to kind of chat us up in a week or two, three, about emergency comms and give folks an idea as to what the amateur radio community does in situations like that, because it is a completely free thing, and it's just people helping people.
If nothing else, please, people, make sure you have a portable battery-operated radio that has weather band on it for your own sake. Please.
That'd be nice.
If,
In my case, I've got my little handy talkie that does a lot of stuff. I don't use it very often, but let me tell you, an opportunity to listen to National Weather Service, even where I am broadcasting from the airport. Yeah, it's not the cleanest of signals, but it's the signal. That's the important part. Any last thing, really, really, really quickly, Io?
Risks out there because there's still shit floating around. There's some sort of flu, and it's smacking people, and I don't think the flu shot covered it because it has hit me hard. And yeah, I've tested myself multiple times for COVID. It's not COVID. And I also had the COVID shot. So whatever this is that I have, it's something that hits people with hard and whatever. Wear your masks. Japanese, Chinese, Korean people wear it in order to keep flu down in their countries. Why not wear it here?
Don't mind me. I was just putting a message for myself to remind myself. Get in touch with him. Tech. Any last thing? Really, really super quick.
yeah, flu and COVID are rising, and there's at least one state, more are probably likely to follow, that are telling the local, um, what do they call them? The resident government official who talks about vaccines and what to do in case of yada yada yada. You know what I'm talking about?
Surgeon General.
Probably. But there have been, government, certain administration doesn't want, um, people to be told, oh, you need to go get a vaccine. So I suspect we will see flu rise and COVID rise even more in the coming months than it is now.
Found an article about California declaring a bird flu emergency 3 days ago.
But anyway, yeah, no, if you can get the flu shot, I recommend it. But I'm not a doctor. I just know that I trust medical science. That's me. Okay, I'm not a doctor. I know the anti-vaxxers hate me for saying, flu shots are a thing, but that's the way it is, and that's my thing.
I will finish off with this then. The year that we're going to be going into, we know full well is going to be a shit show here in the United States. We've already seen pieces of it happening. There's a lot of yelling and screaming that's already happening. There's going to be a lot more yelling and screaming that's going to be happening. We will get through this together. I want to make sure that you all get this. If you're a first-time watcher and you just fast-forwarded to the end of this, which, first off, of course, just thank you for finding something worthwhile for us. We will get through this together. Now, like I said at one point earlier tonight, if that means that you have to stand behind us and let us take the brunt, so be it. If you can be with us, shoulder to shoulder, cool. If you try it and you find out, maybe not, it's okay. It's okay, babe. It's okay. If you want to take the point, fine. You find out that you can't. No worries. The point is not who ends up crossing the finish line first or last. It's that we cross the finish line together. We'll do this. We'll find our way through. And when all is said and done, we'll get through it together. We've got a new year coming up. We got a lot of things that we're going to want to do. There's going to be a lot of things that probably not going to be able to do. But just know, we've got your back. We've got the front. And we will be here together with you. To all of you who weren't able to make it to the end, thank you for being part of our lifetimes. You've made an impact, whether you like it or not. Thank you for being part of our lives. I would love to be able to say, we love you. But that's not something that I can easily say anymore. And I don't believe that things happen because of supernaturals. I do believe that there are just simply coincidences. So the fact that I went shopping at the store that I work at and I found a somewhat oversized Idic necklace pendant that was kind of special. Yeah, I bought it for myself because of whimsy, but it's kind of a reminder. The one that I bought for my wife long time ago. Sometimes we just find the good things and we hold on to them because whimsy is okay. I need to call it a night because I am now in the emotional state where I could just monologue on, and trust me, nobody needs that. So thank you all very much for being with us. As always, we appreciate you. We're glad to have you along for the ride. We hope that you found something worthwhile in all of our perspectives and you got something to think about for the week ahead. And with everything working the way that it should, we should be back again next week. So as always, over there in the chat, Lexa, thank you. Glad you're able to join us. You take care of yourself. Stephanie, also. Glad that you're there. And on top of everything else, I'm assuming then that all of the paint fumes have finally gotten away from you. So, it's good to have you with us. You take care of yourself, and good morning, of course. Tech, glad you're able to make it. You take good care of yourself, and for what it's worth, happy Hanukkah.
Thanks, Vic. Appreciate it.
I don't know what the correct Hebrew expression would be is as opposed to happy.
It's fine. It's more than appropriate.
Yeah, it's very appropriate.
Yeah.
So thank you, man. You take care of yourself and enjoy the season.
Doing so. Thank you. You too.
And Io Saturnalia. Thanks.
Befish you a Merry Gretz Moose Panda Hippo Gnu Deer.
I understood that reference. I'm glad you're able to make
fine. Saturnalia is fine. Kiss Moose is better. Too bad I can't find a moose to kiss around here. Maybe chocolate mousse.
No, because knowing you, chocolate mousse would simply turn into vor and I don't know that's I'll just be jealous at that point.
Keep yourself safe. I'm going to just collapse.
That's fair.
And you heard me coughing, so I tried to hide it from you guys.
No, you did a great job. Thank you. Glad you're able to make it.
Mm-hmm.
And
glad to be here.
As stated before, you all take very good care of yourselves as best you can. New Year is coming. Don't make any super far-reaching plans for yourself. It's nice to have New Year's resolutions, but let's be honest with ourselves. We are creatures of habit. Don't just try to line yourself up for disappointment. If you were going to do something, you would have already done it. Just take it easy. Long time ago, I was told, if you could do this and pour money into it that you're not going to get back, you're not going to get it back, but you knew that you were going to help just one person, would you do it? And I told them, of course. They told me, well then, brother, what the fuck is stopping you? There are pieces of this that are really, really tough to do now. But I'm going to keep trying. And I'm going to keep doing. Because somewhere out there, there's at least one person. Whoever you are, wherever you are. We're here for you. So, we call it a night. As always, everyone, I wish you all the peace I no longer have. I wish you the strength that I've learned. I wish you well. And of course, my lady. It's going to be 20 years. It is going to be 20 years. And I am still in love with you. And I'm sorry that I can't keep that one promise. But I kept all the rest. Wow. Matane Fujin. I love you. I miss you. Dream of me. Till the next time we're together, everyone, as always, good night and Happy New Year.